Hey Slayers, and welcome to Mortal Monday. With this Monday, we're taking a look at Mortal Kombat 2 for the Game Gear, Master System, and Genesis. And since I already touched on the Game Gear in the past, I'm not going to really talk about it too much here. But you need to know basically, there's only 6 characters, and I forgot who they are. The graphics on the Game Gear are pretty big. We have some pretty large characters. You only really get 2 stages, and the gameplay is just as awesome as it is on Sega Genesis and Master System, so you don't lose too much, although I for some reason found the combos a little bit harder to pull off, but that might just be me. I am using an emulator and I am using a Bluetooth controller, but as far as I can tell, there is no lag with my controller. I just couldn't pull off Sub-Zero's moves, which I can pull off in the Genesis and Master System. Sorry for the cut in audio there, but yeah, I can pull those moves off in the Master System / Genesis versions of the game. I couldn't pull them off here. I don't know, I just kept spamming like the uppercut. But if you really want to know more about this version, you can go watch my review on it. I did a full review on this version for just the Game Gear version alone, which was back in the day, so I'm not really going to touch on it just too much here. Only thing you need to know is I couldn't really pull off any special moves, and there are only 2 stages, 6 characters. But for a portable version of of Mortal Kombat, it's definitely a good version, and I definitely do recommend it. It's definitely better than what I heard. The Game Boy version is atrocious. So this is, if you want a portable version of Mortal Kombat and you have a real Game Gear, this is what I recommend. But on to Sega Genesis. So Mortal Kombat, so this is really the bulk of the video. There's also Master System, you can see it on screen there. Mortal Kombat 2 for the Sega Genesis. What does this improve over the first game? Well, first off, now we have the added bonus of the blood code already being enabled. So there is no blood code this time. They learned from their mistakes. You automatically have blood code. Another thing this version really does improve over the previous game in the series, for Genesis at least, is the characters. The characters are a lot bigger, they're a lot more colorful and vibrant this time around, and the game just looks a lot better. There are a lot of different stages. This game is really an overhaul of the first game. Like, the ice attacks are different. This game uses an entirely different graphics engine. Although, something I want to mention right off the bat, the CPUs in this version of the game gave me a lot of trouble. And I don't know if that was just me being garbage at the game, or it was just the CPUs being a little too hard. But man, they gave me a lot of trouble. Also, the fatalities are a little bit different in this version. Some characters' fatalities are a little bit like split around. Also, this is the full package when it comes to the characters. So if you're looking for the version with the most characters, definitely the Genesis version. The fatalities this time around are a lot bigger, better, although I couldn't pull one off, but they are a lot better, that I can say. And as you can see, there are a lot more stages, and still a lot of stage fatalities. Also, I think there's babalities in this version. I don't know about friendships, but I think there is babalities. But don't quote me on that though. I love how when you find, yeah, there's the Toasty Easter egg. If you know, the guy will come up here and go, Toasty. Yeah, he's in this version for sure. And this version, from what I know, runs better than the Super Nintendo version. And this is the version I would recommend overall. I have actually played the Super Nintendo version, actually, I think a couple times. Yeah, and the Super Nintendo version, let me tell you right now, has a lot of slowdown. And I'm not being biased saying that. I've played it, and if you know anything about Super Nintendo games, you know they have a lot of slowdown. So the Genesis version off the bat runs a lot faster, and it's the version I recommend. Although, like I said, the CPU in this game is hard, but I think the CPU is also harder than the Genesis version. And this time around, the CPU actually likes to hit fatalities. They used to didn't want to hit fatalities, like in the older versions. But in this version, they will hit fatalities. And I did like 3 matches here as a couple characters. And yeah, I did Sub-Zero and Scorpion, as those are the 2 I usually play as those are the 2 I know most of their moves. And for some reason, right, when I say for real, I could not pull off Scorpion's like, get over here. I couldn't pull it off. I think I pulled off a teleport real fast, but I actually just still die. See, yeah, I pulled off a teleport there, but I still died. So it doesn't really help. It didn't really help me much. But Sub-Zero, I think Scorpion has the easiest fatality like system to learn here. But Sub-Zero, in my opinion, has the more spam-worthy move with the ice ball. It's basically like Ryu's Hadouken, but you can just get over there so fast and just like start rushing everybody. So I take on also. I tried Liu Kang because I wanted to try out a couple different characters. And the thing I really like about Mortal Kombat 2 that they improved over the second game is, to me, in the first Mortal Kombat, every character almost felt like they played the same. Like, sure, they had their own unique moves, but they almost felt like they were the same character, just copy and paste it over again. Even, especially Scorpion and Sub-Zero, now they feel completely different. They feel like they're their own characters, and I like that about this. So the CPU are pretty spam worthy, and I don't know what I was doing there, but the CPU are pretty spam worthy, but they will, if you give them the option, they will spam a lot of moves on you. I'm telling you right now, so beware of that. You will get spammed a bunch, and that's not really too cool in my opinion. But this is definitely the definitive version on home consoles, if you're looking for a home console, Genesis or SNES. So now we move on to Sega Master System, and you can see that on screen. If I'm pretty sure this is only a Europe release, and maybe a Brazil, but don't quote me on that again, but I'm pretty sure this is only a Europe and Brazil. And this is essentially Genesis. I think you do get, yeah, you get 8 characters this time around instead of the 6 that you get on the Game Gear. But this is essentially the Game Gear version, upscaled and downscaled at the same time. Because in this version, which for some reason I reset the game there, because I actually picked Scorpion, you get 3 difficulties right off the bat, right? In this version, no, you get the character change, but you are again severely limited to the only 2-stage format, which I really don't like in this version. Fatalities are a lot harder to pull off for this and the Game Gear version, so with special moves, just because you're only limited to 2 buttons, which you can argue on the Genesis version you were only limited to 3 buttons, but most people had a 6-button controller anyway, so it was worth it. And it's not like the clunky L and R buttons on the SNES were much better either way. So, but out of this versus the Genesis version, which one you're looking for? Well, this version is good, and while it is interesting, it's not as good as the Genesis version. So if you're considering this as a contender to the Genesis version on which version to pick up the Genesis version. If that's what you're on here, if you're looking at this as a review to straight up the game, pick up the Genesis version. I promise you, you'll have a lot better time. It's a lot more worth it. You get a lot more money. I mean, you get a lot more value for your money. So pick up the Genesis version. But if you're just looking for this as a collector's item, this is an awesome item to have, let me tell you. Because this is while it's fun, this is actually pretty interesting for an 8-bit fighter. This is pretty good. Like I said, it's pretty much just a port of the Game Gear version, but with the characters are a little bit smaller, but it doesn't matter because you're on the TV. So you kind of need the more seeing room. It's easier than the Game Gear version, not in the difficulty of the CPU, but actually just because you could see more of the stage than what you can see on the Game Gear version. So if you're looking for an 8-bit version of Mortal Kombat 2 and you're not worried about like the portability of the Game Gear version, and you're buying this physical, if you're emulating this, just emulate the Genesis version all around, unless for some reason your phone or computer can't handle Genesis games, which I highly doubt, because basically anything can handle Genesis games at this point. But in case that is the case, this version versus the Game Gear version, definitely go with this version. If you're looking for physical copies, the Game Gear version, it's nice to have all 3. But I'm gonna go ahead and start ending this video. My final verdict: Genesis, Master System, Game Gear. Just because the Game Gear, you lose a couple characters and things. Well, that's gonna do it for me. Until next time, see you, Slayers.